My name is Alinta McPherson. I'm 69 years old, and on Christmas Day, my own daughter tried to kill me with a box of poisoned hamburgers she mailed to my door. The next day she called asking, "So, how were the hamburgers? Hope you enjoyed them?" I smiled and told her, "Oh, I gave them to my grandchildren. They love hamburgers." She went silent, then screamed, "You did what?" Before I begin, please like this video, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. It helps more people hear stories like mine. Because what I'm about to tell you is something no mother should ever have to say out loud. It's about the day I realized the child I carried, the daughter I sacrificed everything for, wanted me dead. Let me take you back. Way back. To when I was young, foolish, and believed that love could conquer anything. I had my daughter, Rebecca, when I was 23 years old. Her father? He left before she took her first breath. Packed his bags one night while I was 8 months pregnant and never looked back. No phone call. No letter. No child support. Nothing. I was alone, terrified, and barely making ends meet as a waitress at a diner that reeked of stale coffee and broken dreams. But I didn't give up. I worked double shifts, triple shifts when I could get them. My feet would swell so badly I'd have to soak them in ice water every night just to walk the next day. I wore the same 2 uniforms for 3 years because I couldn't afford new ones. Every penny, every single cent I made, went to Rebecca. Food, clothes, diapers, formula, it all came before my own needs. I ate ramen noodles for dinner most nights while my baby girl had fresh vegetables and proper meals. That's what mothers do, right? We sacrifice. We give until there's nothing left to give, and then somehow, we find more. When Rebecca was 5, I went back to school. Community college at night while working during the day. A neighbor, Mrs. Beth, God rest her soul, would watch Rebecca for free because she knew I was struggling. I studied accounting because I thought it would give us a better life. And it did, eventually. By the time Rebecca was 10, I had landed a decent job at a mid-sized firm. We moved out of that cramped studio apartment into a 2-bedroom place in a safer neighborhood. Rebecca got her own room. I painted it pink because that was her favorite color. I hung glow-in-the-dark stars on her ceiling because she was afraid of the dark. I was there for everything. Every parent-teacher conference. Every school play where she forgot her lines and I clapped the loudest anyway. Every scraped knee, every bad dream, every heartbreak. When she was 13 and the popular girls made fun of her braces, I held her while she cried and told her she was beautiful. When she was 16 and failed her driver's test twice, I paid for extra lessons even though it meant I couldn't get my car fixed and had to take the bus for 2 months. I gave her everything I never had. Dance lessons. Piano lessons. A sweet 16 party with a DJ and catered food. A car for her 18th birthday, nothing fancy, but reliable. I paid for her college tuition, every single semester, because I didn't want her drowning in student loan debt like so many of her friends. I worked overtime, took on freelance projects, did taxes on the side during tax season. I was exhausted. Constantly. My hair started turning gray in my 40s, and by 50, I looked 10 years older than I was. But I didn't care. Rebecca's future was worth it. And you want to know the worst part? The part that makes my blood boil even now? She never once said thank you. Not really. Not in a way that meant something. Oh, she'd say the words when it was convenient, when she needed something else from me. Thanks, Mom, she'd mumble while looking at her phone, barely acknowledging the sacrifice. But genuine gratitude? The kind that comes from truly understanding what someone has done for you? Never. The shift started when she was in her mid-20s. She'd graduated college, with honors, I might add, something I was so proud of, and got a job at a marketing firm. She met him there. Damien. I hated him from the moment I laid eyes on him. There was something slick about him, something oily and untrustworthy. He had this way of talking where every word sounded rehearsed, like he was always performing. And the way he looked at me, like I was some pathetic old woman who'd outlived her usefulness, it made my skin crawl. Rebecca changed after she started dating him. She became colder, more distant. Phone calls became less frequent. Then they stopped altogether unless she needed money. And she always needed money. Her apartment was too expensive. Her car broke down. She wanted to take a vacation. Could I help out? Just this once? Of course, I said yes. I always said yes. Because that's what mothers do. We give and give and give, even when our children take and take and take without ever looking back to see if we're still standing. She married Damien in a small ceremony that I wasn't allowed to help plan. When I offered to contribute financially, she scoffed. "We've got it covered, Mom," she said with this dismissive wave of her hand. Like all those years of me covering everything for her meant nothing. Like she'd forgotten who paid for her education, her wedding dress, the down payment on their house. After the wedding, things got worse. She'd visit maybe once a year if I was lucky. Holidays became excuses. "We're spending Thanksgiving with Damien's family this year. Christmas is just so busy, Mom. We'll try to stop by, but no promises." And they never did. I spent Thanksgiving alone, eating a store-bought turkey dinner in my quiet apartment. I spent Christmas watching old movies, trying not to cry as I thought about how Rebecca used to wake me up at 5 in the morning, so excited to open presents that she'd be bouncing off the walls. The resentment from her grew palpable. I could feel it every time we spoke, which was rare. She blamed me for everything. For not being rich enough to send her to a better school. For not remarrying so she could have a father figure. For being too clingy, too needy, too much of a burden on her perfect new life with Damien. It was like she'd rewritten history in her mind, erasing all my sacrifices and replacing them with imagined failures. And me? I kept making excuses for her. "She's busy," I'd tell Mrs. Beth's daughter, who'd check on me sometimes. "She's building her career. She'll come around." But deep down, I knew. I knew my daughter had become someone I didn't recognize. Someone cold and cruel and capable of things I didn't want to imagine. December 25th. Christmas morning. The day that's supposed to be filled with joy and family and love. I woke up alone in my apartment, like I had for the past 5 years. The silence was deafening. I made myself coffee, strong and black, and sat by the window watching families walk by on the street below. Children bundled in winter coats, laughing and pulling their parents toward the park. Couples holding hands. A father carrying a toddler on his shoulders. I was crying into my coffee when the doorbell rang. I almost didn't answer it. Who would be visiting me on Christmas morning? But something made me get up, wipe my eyes, and shuffle to the door in my bathrobe and slippers. When I opened it, there was no one there. Just a large box sitting on my doormat, wrapped in brown paper with a shipping label. My heart jumped. The return address said Rebecca's name. I stood there staring at it for what felt like an eternity. She remembered me. After years of distance and coldness, my daughter had sent me something for Christmas. My hands trembled as I picked up the box. It was heavy, substantial. I brought it inside, set it on my kitchen table, and just looked at it for a minute, trying to compose myself. Tears were streaming down my face again, but this time they were different. This time they were tears of hope. Maybe things could change. Maybe she still loved me after all. I opened the box carefully, savoring the moment. Inside, packed in ice packs to keep them cold, were 6 gourmet hamburgers. They looked homemade, professionally wrapped in butcher paper with a little note that said, "Merry Christmas, Mom." Enjoy these while they're fresh. Love, Rebecca. Love, Rebecca. Those 2 words. They broke me. I sobbed right there in my kitchen, clutching that note like it was a lifeline. She still loved me. She'd taken the time to make these for me, to ship them so they'd arrive on Christmas Day. This was her way of reaching out, of saying she was sorry without having to say the actual words. I understood. I forgave her everything at that moment. All the missed holidays, all the harsh words, all the years of loneliness. None of it mattered because my daughter was thinking of me. The hamburgers looked incredible. Thick, juicy patties with what appeared to be gourmet toppings, caramelized onions, specialty cheeses, artisan buns. My mouth watered just looking at them. I was about to heat one up when a thought struck me. 6 hamburgers was too much for just me. They'd go bad before I could eat them all. And it was Christmas Day. My grandchildren, well, not my actual grandchildren, but the neighbors' kids I'd grown close to over the years, they were probably home. Maybe I should share this gift. Maybe spreading the joy would make it even more special. The Thompson family lived 2 floors down. Maria Thompson and her 3 kids, Emma, Jake, and little Sophie. Maria was a single mom like I'd been, working 2 jobs to make ends meet. We'd bonded over our shared struggles. I'd watch her kids sometimes when she needed help, and she'd check on me when I was sick. They'd invited me to their Christmas dinner later that evening, and I'd already planned to bring a pie. But this would be even better. Fresh, gourmet hamburgers for the kids. They'd love it. I repackaged 4 of the hamburgers carefully, keeping 2 for myself. I got dressed, put on my coat, and walked down to their apartment with a smile on my face. This was going to be a good Christmas after all. Maria answered the door with flour on her apron and a frazzled but happy expression. "Alenta. You're early. Come in, come in." "I can't stay long," I said, handing her the package. "But Rebecca sent me these wonderful hamburgers for Christmas, and I thought the kids might enjoy them. They're gourmet, specially made. You can cook them up for lunch." Maria's eyes lit up. "Oh, Alenta, that's so sweet. The kids will be thrilled." "Are you sure?" "Absolutely," I said. "I've got 2 more for myself." 6 was way too much. We chatted for a few more minutes. Emma and Jake ran up to hug me, and Sophie, who was only 4, showed me her new doll. My heart felt full for the first time in years. I went back to my apartment feeling lighter than I had in ages. I heated up one of my hamburgers, poured myself a glass of wine, and sat down to a Christmas lunch that actually felt special. The hamburger was delicious. Rich, perfectly seasoned, with a slight char that gave it a smoky flavor. I savored every bite, thinking about Rebecca the entire time. Maybe I'd call her later, thank her for the gift, and tell her how much it meant to me. I fell asleep on the couch that afternoon, full and content, with old Christmas movies playing in the background. The next morning, December 26th, my phone rang at 7:30 in the morning. I was still groggy, wrapped in a blanket on the couch where I'd apparently spent the entire night. I fumbled for my phone, squinting at the screen. Rebecca. My heart leaped. She was calling me. 2 days in a row of contact, this was unprecedented. I answered quickly, trying to sound awake and cheerful. "Hello, sweetheart." "Mom." Her voice was strange. Tight. Controlled. I wanted to check in. "How was Christmas?" "Oh, Rebecca, it was wonderful. Thank you so much for the hamburgers. They were absolutely delicious. I had one yesterday and..." "You ate them?" She cut me off, her voice suddenly sharp. "Yes, I had one for lunch. They were amazing, honey. Really gourmet quality. Did you make them yourself?" There was a pause. A long, uncomfortable pause. All of them? She asked. Did you eat all of them? Something in her tone made my stomach tighten. Well, no, How many did you eat, Mom? Her voice was rising now, taking on a panicked edge that I couldn't understand. Just one. Why? Is something wrong? What did you do with the rest? She was almost yelling now. Rebecca, what's going on? You're scaring me. The rest, Mom. What did you do with the other hamburgers? I pulled the phone away from my ear, shocked by her outburst. My hand started to shake. I gave them to the Thompson family downstairs. Maria and her kids. There were 6 hamburgers, sweetheart. That was too much for just me, so I thought. You did what? The scream that came through the phone was inhuman. It was rage and terror mixed together in a way that made my blood run cold. I could hear something crashing in the background, like she'd thrown something. Rebecca, please, what's wrong? Did something happen with the hamburgers? Were they supposed to be saved or? You gave them to children? She was sobbing now, or maybe laughing, I couldn't tell. The sound was hysterical. Oh my God. Oh my God. No, 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 no. Rebecca, talk to me. What is going on? Did they eat them yet? Mom, did those kids eat the hamburgers? I don't know. I gave them to Maria yesterday afternoon. They were probably going to cook them for lunch. Rebecca, you're terrifying me. What is in those hamburgers? She hung up. Just like that. Click. Dead silence. I sat there holding my phone, my entire body trembling. Something was wrong. Something was very, very wrong. My daughter had sent me something, called to check if I'd eaten it, and then had a complete meltdown when she found out I'd given it to children. My mind was racing. What could be wrong with the hamburgers? Food poisoning? No, that wouldn't cause this kind of reaction. An ingredient I was allergic to? But she would have just told me that. Unless. No. No, it couldn't be. But her voice. That panic. That rage. That terror when I said I'd given them to kids. I called Maria. No answer. I called again. Still nothing. I threw on my clothes and ran down to their apartment, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might have a heart attack right there in the hallway. I banged on their door. Maria. Maria, it's Alinta. Open up. Nothing. I tried the doorknob. Locked. Maria. Please. Finally, I heard footsteps. The door opened, but only a crack. Maria's face appeared, and she looked awful. Pale, scared, her eyes red from crying. Alinta, I can't talk right now. The hamburgers, I gasped. Did the kids eat the hamburgers? Her face crumpled. She started to close the door, but I pushed it open. Maria, please, I need to know. We're at the hospital, she whispered. We just got back an hour ago. The world tilted. I grabbed the doorframe to steady myself. What happened? Maria let me in, but reluctantly. The apartment was in chaos. Dishes piled in the sink. Toys scattered everywhere. The TV was on but muted, showing some children's program that no one was watching. She sat down heavily on the couch and put her face in her hands. Jake and Sophie ate them. Emma didn't want one, she's been on a health kick lately, only wants salads and fruit. Thank God for that. Maria, what happened? I sat down next to her, my voice barely a whisper. They got sick. Really sick. Around 8 o'clock last night, Jake started throwing up. Then Sophie. At first, I thought it was just a stomach bug, you know? Kids get those. But it got worse so fast. They were both vomiting, having diarrhea, sweating and shaking. Jake said his heart was racing and his chest hurt. Sophie was crying that everything looked blurry. I felt like I was going to be sick myself. I called 911. The paramedics came and took us to the ER. The doctors. Alenta, the doctors said they'd been poisoned. They ran tests. Found high levels of some kind of toxin in their systems. They had to pump their stomachs, put them on IVs, the whole thing. Jake's 12 years old and he looked like he was dying. Tears were streaming down my face. Oh my God. Oh my God, Maria, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. She looked at me then, and there was something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Suspicion. Fear. Distrust. The doctors asked me what they ate. I told them about the hamburgers. They kept some of the meat that Jake threw up for testing. She paused, her voice dropping to a whisper. Alenta, where exactly did those hamburgers come from? My daughter. Rebecca. She sent them to me for Christmas. Your daughter sent you poisoned hamburgers? Hearing someone else say it out loud made it real. Undeniable. I don't know. I don't understand. She called me this morning and I stopped, remembering the conversation. The panic. The terror in Rebecca's voice when she found out kids had eaten them. Maria stood up abruptly. I need you to leave. Maria, please. My children almost died last night, Alenta. They're upstairs sleeping right now, still recovering, still in pain. The police are coming this afternoon to take a statement. They're going to want to talk to you too. The police? This is attempted murder, Alenta. Someone tried to kill your daughter's children by poisoning food. And you delivered it to my door. I didn't know. Maria, you have to believe me, I had no idea. I want to believe you. Her voice cracked. I really do. You've been nothing but kind to us. But right now, I need to focus on my kids. And I need you to leave. I left. What else could I do? I stumbled back to my apartment in a daze, my mind unable to process what was happening. I'd eaten one of those hamburgers. I felt fine. Maybe a little drowsy yesterday afternoon, but I'd attribute that to the wine and the emotional exhaustion. Had I been poisoned too? Just not as badly because I was bigger, older, my metabolism was different? Or had I gotten lucky? I went straight to my kitchen and looked at the remaining hamburger in my fridge. It looked so innocent, wrapped in its butcher paper. I wanted to throw it away immediately, but something stopped me. Evidence. This was evidence. My phone rang. Rebecca again. I answered, and this time my voice was different. Cold. Controlled. What did you do? Mom, I can explain. 2 children are in the hospital, Rebecca. 2 innocent children who ate the hamburgers you sent me. What did you put in them? Silence. What did you put in them? You weren't supposed to give them away, she said finally, her voice small and distant. You were supposed to eat them yourself. All of them. The room started spinning. I sat down hard on a kitchen chair before my legs gave out completely. You tried to kill me. Mom. You tried to murder me. Your own mother. You sent me poisoned food on Christmas Day with a note that said love, Rebecca, and you wanted me to die. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. She was crying now, but I felt nothing. No sympathy. No maternal instinct to comfort her. Just a cold, spreading numbness. You weren't supposed to give them away. What kind of person gives away a Christmas gift? The kind of person who thought her daughter actually cared about her for once. I was screaming now, years of pain and rejection and loneliness pouring out. The kind of person who wants to share something special with people who actually give a damn whether she lives or dies. What did you use, Rebecca? What poison? I'm not telling you that. The doctors need to know. Those children will be fine. The dose in each hamburger wasn't enough to kill kids their size. They'll be sick for a few days and then recover. You, on the other hand. She laughed, a bitter, twisted sound. 6 hamburgers for a woman your size? You would have been dead by morning. I couldn't breathe. Literally could not get air into my lungs. My daughter, my baby girl, the child I'd sacrificed everything for, had calculated exactly how much poison it would take to kill me. Why? The word came out as a broken whisper. Money, Mom. It's always about money. Did you really think I sent those out of love? I needed you gone. Your will leaves everything to me. Life insurance, your savings, your apartment, everything. Damien and I are drowning in debt. His business failed. We're about to lose the house. We needed that money, and you were too stubborn to just die naturally. Each word was a knife in my heart. I gave you everything. You gave me poverty. You gave me a childhood in crappy apartments with second-hand clothes and the shame of being the poor kid at school. You gave me a mother who was always tired, always working, never there for the things that actually mattered. You gave me guilt every single day of my life because you sacrificed so much and made sure I never forgot it. I worked myself to the bone for you. I didn't ask you to. I didn't ask to be born to a single mother who couldn't afford to give me a decent life. And now, even in your old age, you're still taking up space, still expecting me to care, still being a burden. I just wanted it to be over. I don't remember ending the call. I don't remember the next few hours at all. I must have gone into shock because when I finally came back to myself, it was dark outside and I was sitting on my bathroom floor, my cheek pressed against the cold tile. My daughter wanted me dead. Not in a metaphorical, I wish I'd never been born, teenage angst way. She had actively, methodically planned my murder. She'd researched poisons. She'd prepared the hamburgers. She'd packaged them carefully with ice packs to keep them fresh. She'd written a note saying, "Love, Rebecca." She'd shipped them to arrive on Christmas Day when she knew I'd be alone and vulnerable. And then she'd called to make sure I'd eaten them. To confirm the job was done. The worst part? The absolute worst part that made me want to tear my own heart out? I would have forgiven her. If she'd come to me crying about debt, about problems, about needing help, I would have given her everything. I would have mortgaged my apartment, taken out loans, worked until I dropped dead from exhaustion. Because that's what mothers do. But she didn't ask. She didn't think I was worth asking. She just decided I was more valuable dead than alive. I don't know how long I sat there on that bathroom floor, but eventually, something inside me changed. Shifted. Hardened. The grief was still there, sharp and agonizing. But underneath it, something else was growing. Rage. Pure, white-hot, burning rage. She wanted me dead? Fine. But I wasn't going to make it easy for her. I was done being the sacrificial mother. Done being the doormat. Done being the pathetic old woman waiting for crumbs of affection from a daughter who saw me as nothing more than a future paycheck. I pulled myself up off that floor, looked at myself in the mirror, my tear-stained face, my red eyes, my gray hair wild around my shoulders, and I made a decision. Rebecca wanted to play games? I'd play. But I'd play to win. I didn't call the police. Not yet. I needed to understand the full scope of what was happening, and I needed evidence. The hamburger in my fridge was a start, but I needed more. I needed to be smart about this. The next morning, December 27th, I called my doctor and made an emergency appointment. I told him I'd eaten something that made me feel strange and wanted to be tested for toxins. He was skeptical at first, but when I insisted, he agreed. They drew blood, took samples, and ran tests. 2 days later, the results came back positive for a slow-acting toxin that would have caused organ failure within 24 to 48 hours if ingested in large quantities. The doctor's face went pale when he saw the levels in my system. "Ms. McPherson, where did you ingest this? This is a serious matter. I'm legally required to report this." "I know," I said calmly. "But I need you to wait. Just a few days. I promise I'll handle this, but I need to gather more information first." He was reluctant, but something in my face must have convinced him. He agreed to hold off for 72 hours. Next, I called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, the best criminal defense attorney I could afford. His name was Matthias Beth, and he was Mrs. Beth's nephew. I'd known him since he was a kid, and he'd gone on to become one of the most respected attorneys in the city. I told him everything. Every horrible detail. He listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each revelation. "Ms. Alinta," he said when I finished, "this is attempted murder. Premeditated. Methodical. Your daughter needs to be in prison." "I know. But I need your help building an airtight case. I don't want her wiggling out of this on some technicality. I want her to face consequences for what she did." He nodded slowly. "I'll need that remaining hamburger as evidence. And I'm going to recommend we hire a private investigator to dig into her finances, her communications, anything that might show premeditation or previous attempts." Previous attempts? The thought hadn't occurred to me. "Ms. Alinta, people don't usually jump straight to murder. There are often warning signs, escalating behaviors. Has anything else strange happened to you in the past year? Unexplained illnesses? Accidents that seemed odd?" I thought back, my mind racing. Last March, I had what the doctors called severe food poisoning. I was sick for 3 weeks, lost 15 pounds. They never figured out what caused it. "What did you eat before you got sick?" Rebecca had visited. It was one of her rare visits. She brought over soup because I'd mentioned I had a cold. Said she'd made it herself, wanted to take care of me for once. Matthias and I locked eyes. "We need to test you for heavy metal poisoning. Arsenic, mercury, thallium, these can stay in your system for months, accumulating in your hair and nails." More tests. More evidence of my daughter's hatred. The heavy metal screening came back positive for arsenic. Not enough to kill, but enough to make me seriously ill. She'd been trying to poison me for at least 9 months, maybe longer. While we were gathering evidence, I made another decision. I went to a therapist. Not because I thought I was weak or broken, but because I needed someone to help me process the absolute devastation of realizing your child wants you dead. Dr. Sarah Mitchell was a grief counselor who specialized in family trauma. Our first session, I broke down completely. I sobbed so hard I thought I'd choke. She sat with me through it all, patient and kind, never rushing me. "Alinta," she said gently when I'd finally cried myself out, "what you're experiencing is a unique type of grief. You're mourning the death of the daughter you thought you had, the relationship you believed existed. That grief is just as valid as if she had physically died." "But she's still out there," I said bitterly. "She's still breathing, still living her life, probably sleeping fine at night while I'm falling apart." "Right now, yes. But that won't last. People who are capable of this level of betrayal, this level of callousness, they don't find peace. She's going to spiral, whether you intervene or not. The question is, do you want to be there to witness it, or do you want to heal and move forward?" "I want justice," I said firmly. I want her to face consequences. But I also want to be strong enough to survive this. I want to rebuild. Then that's what we'll work toward. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into self-improvement with an intensity that surprised even me. I started working out with a personal trainer, building strength I'd lost over the years of stress and exhaustion. I changed my diet, started taking better care of myself. I got my hair professionally done, updated my wardrobe. Not because I cared what anyone thought, but because I needed to feel like I was taking control of my life again. I also made a very important phone call to my bank and my lawyer. I changed my will. Every single cent that would have gone to Rebecca now went to a charity for children of single parents. My life insurance policy? Changed the beneficiary to the Thompson family, with a specific note that it was to help pay for the kids' trauma counseling and future education. If Rebecca had asked, if she had come to me honestly, I would have helped her. But she tried to kill me for money she was never going to get. Matthias hired a private investigator named Diane Torres. She was a former detective with 30 years of experience, and she was thorough to the point of being obsessive. Within 2 weeks, she'd uncovered more than I could have imagined. Rebecca and Damien were drowning in debt, over $300,000. Damien's business had been a cryptocurrency scheme that collapsed, taking their savings and their credit with it. They'd maxed out multiple credit cards, taken out predatory loans, and were facing foreclosure on their house in less than 6 months. But it got worse. Diane found evidence that Rebecca had taken out a life insurance policy on me 6 months ago. $1 million, with her listed as the sole beneficiary. I'd never signed anything, never agreed to it. She'd forged my signature. That's insurance fraud on top of attempted murder, Matthias said grimly. She's looking at serious prison time. The investigation also revealed something that made my stomach turn. Rebecca had been researching ways to kill me for over a year. Her internet search history was damning. Undetectable poisons. How to make death look natural. Life insurance payout timeline. Symptoms of natural death in elderly. Elderly. I was 69, not ancient, but to her, I was already dead weight waiting to be disposed of. Diane found emails between Rebecca and Damien discussing me like I was a problem to be solved rather than a human being. In one email, dated just 2 weeks before Christmas, Rebecca wrote, "I can't wait any longer. She's healthy, could live another 20 years. We need the money now. I found something that will work. Christmas Day, she'll be alone, vulnerable, and everyone will just think she died of old age or a heart attack. No one will suspect anything." Damien's response, "Are you sure about this? What if something goes wrong?" Rebecca, "Nothing will go wrong. I've researched this carefully. She'll eat the hamburgers, think I actually care about her for once, and by the next morning, she'll be gone. We'll act devastated, collect the insurance money, and finally be able to breathe again." Reading those emails was worse than the poison itself. The casual cruelty, the complete lack of remorse, the way they discussed my death like it was a business transaction. But Diane found something else. Something that made me realize this went even deeper than I'd thought. Rebecca had tried to kill me before. Not just the arsenic in the soup. 3 years ago, when I'd taken a trip to visit an old friend in another state, Rebecca had offered to look at my apartment. "Just to water your plants and check on things, Mom." I'd thought it was sweet, a rare gesture of care. Diane found evidence that during that week, Rebecca had tampered with my gas line. She'd loosened a connection just enough that gas would leak slowly into the apartment. If I'd come home and turned on the stove or lit a candle, the place would have exploded. But I'd gotten lucky. A neighbor had smelled gas in the hallway and called the building maintenance before I got home. They'd fixed it, thinking it was a wear and tear issue. I'd never known how close I'd come to dying. How many times? I asked Diane, my voice hollow. How many times has she tried? At least 3 that I can prove. The gas leak, the arsenic, and the hamburgers. There may be more. 3 years. My daughter had been trying to murder me for 3 years, and I'd been completely oblivious. I cut contact completely. Changed my phone number, blocked her on all social media, instructed my lawyer that all communication had to go through him. I wanted her to panic, to wonder if I'd figured it out, if I was coming for her. And she panicked. According to Diane, who was still monitoring her digital footprint, Rebecca tried calling my old number over 100 times in the first week. When that didn't work, she showed up at my apartment building. The doorman, who I'd briefed on the situation, told her I'd moved and he couldn't give out information on former tenants. She sat in her car outside my building for 6 hours, waiting. I watched from a friend's apartment across the street, my heart cold as ice. She looked frantic, desperate. Good. She tried contacting my few friends, my former coworkers, anyone who might know where I was. But I'd already warned them all. Everyone gave her nothing. Her social media posts became increasingly unhinged. Vague posts about ungrateful parents who abandoned their children, about family betrayal, about how hard her life was. People started commenting, asking if she was okay. She'd respond with cryptic messages about how no one understood her pain. Meanwhile, I was building my new life. I'd started volunteer work at a women's shelter, helping other women who'd escaped abusive situations. It gave me purpose, reminded me that I wasn't alone in experiencing betrayal from the people who were supposed to love us most. I joined a book club. Made actual friends, people who valued me for who I was, not what I could give them. I started painting, something I'd always wanted to try but never had time for. My apartment, yes, I'd moved to a new place, safer, nicer, was slowly filling with my artwork. Bright, angry abstracts that helped me process everything I was feeling. I was healing. Slowly, painfully, but healing. And while I healed, Rebecca spiraled. Diane's reports showed that she and Damien were fighting constantly. Neighbors reported screaming matches. She'd lost weight, looked haggard and desperate in the photos Diane captured. Her job performance was suffering. She'd been written up twice for missing deadlines. The debt collectors were closing in. Their house was officially in foreclosure. They'd be evicted within 60 days. And still, I waited. Building evidence, building my case, building my strength. Matthias called me one evening. We have everything we need. The poisoned hamburger tested positive for the same toxin in your system. We have forged life insurance documents. We have the search history, the emails, the prior attempts. The Thompson children are recovered and their mother is willing to testify. The DA is ready to move forward with charges. What are we looking at? Attempted murder in the first degree, 3 counts. Insurance fraud. Forgery. If convicted on all counts, she's looking at 25 years to life. 25 years to life. My daughter would be in her 60s before she got out, if she got out at all. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no sadness, just nothing. Do it, I said. File the charges. Before the arrest, I decided to make one final appearance. The annual neighborhood potluck was happening at the community center, an event I'd attended for 15 years. This year, I almost skipped it. But then I thought about how Rebecca had wanted me dead, had wanted me to disappear quietly, to be forgotten. I decided I wanted to be seen. I walked into that community center looking better than I had in years. Hair professionally styled, wearing a dress I'd splurged on, head held high. People did a double take. Mrs. Beth's daughter, May, rushed over. Alinta. Oh my God, you look amazing. Where have you been? Making some changes, I said with a smile. Starting a new chapter. I worked the room, chatting with neighbors, laughing at jokes, genuinely engaging with people who cared about me. It felt good. It felt powerful. And then Rebecca walked in. She hadn't been invited, she didn't live in the neighborhood anymore, but apparently, she'd heard through the grapevine that these potlucks happened and decided to show up looking for me. Our eyes met across the room. She looked awful. Gaunt, dark circles under her eyes, clothes that hung off her like she'd lost 20 pounds. But what struck me most was the expression on her face when she saw me. Terror. She'd expected me to be dead. Or at least broken, hiding, defeated. Instead, I was thriving. She started walking toward me, pushing through the crowd. People stepped aside, sensing the tension. "Mom," she said, her voice breaking. "Mom, please, we need to talk. I've been trying to reach you for weeks. Something terrible happened with those hamburgers, I don't know what, but..." "Stop," I said calmly. "Don't say another word. Please, I can explain. The police have the hamburger. They've tested it. They know what you did. So do I." Her face went white. Several people around us had stopped talking, sensing drama. "You're lying," she whispered. "You're just trying to hurt me." "Am I?" I reached into my purse and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "This is my new will. Would you like to know what's in it? Or should I read it out loud so everyone can hear?" "Mom, don't. To my daughter, Rebecca McPherson, write, I leave nothing. Not 1 cent, not one possession, not one shred of the love I wasted on her for 46 years. Everything I have will go to charity, to help children who actually need and deserve support." She lunged at me. Actually lunged, like she was going to attack me right there in front of everyone. 2 men grabbed her, holding her back as she screamed. "You can't do this. That money is mine. I'm your daughter. You owe me." "I don't owe you anything," I said, my voice steady despite the pounding of my heart. "I gave you everything, and you tried to kill me. 3 times. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out?" The room erupted in gasps and murmurs. "You're insane." Rebecca shrieked. "She's having a mental breakdown. Someone call her doctor." "The police will be calling you soon enough," I said. "They're filing charges tomorrow morning. Attempted murder, insurance fraud, forgery. I'd get a lawyer if I were you. A good one." She collapsed, literally fell to her knees, sobbing. "Please, Mom, please don't do this. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I was desperate, I didn't know what else to do. "Please." For a moment, just one brief, painful moment, I almost wavered. She was still my daughter. The child I'd held as a baby, whose fevered forehead I'd kissed, whose nightmares I'd chased away. But then I remembered her emails. "I can't wait any longer. She's healthy, could live another 20 years. I looked down at her, this woman who'd grown inside my body, who I'd loved more than life itself, and I felt nothing but pity. "You should have just asked me for help," I said quietly. "If you'd come to me honestly, told me about your problems, I would have given you everything I had. But you didn't see me as a person worth asking. You saw me as an obstacle to money you thought you deserved. And that's why I can't forgive you. Not because you tried to kill me, but because you never loved me at all." I walked out of that community center with my head high, leaving Rebecca sobbing on the floor behind me. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. It was also one of the most empowering. The arrest happened 2 days later. Diane sent me photos, Rebecca being led out of her house in handcuffs while Damien stood in the doorway looking shell-shocked. The neighbors were watching. Everyone was watching. The local news picked up the story. "Local woman arrested for attempted murder of elderly mother," the headline read. They interviewed the Thompson family, who spoke about their children's near-death experience. They interviewed the building maintenance worker who'd fixed my gas leak 3 years ago, who now realized what had really happened. Rebecca's face was everywhere. On the news, in the papers, all over social media. People who'd known her were coming forward with their own stories of her manipulative behavior, her lies, her cruelty. Her employer fired her immediately. Damien filed for divorce within a week. Apparently, he claimed he hadn't known about the murder attempts, that she'd acted alone. I didn't believe him for a second, but he wasn't my problem anymore. Rebecca couldn't make bail. The judge deemed her a flight risk and a danger to me. She sat in jail awaiting trial. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I just felt empty. My therapist said that was normal. "You're grieving," Dr. Mitchell reminded me. "This is death, Alinta. The death of the relationship you wanted with your daughter, the death of the version of Rebecca you thought existed. Let yourself mourn." So I did. I cried. A lot. I raged. I punched pillows and screamed into the void. I let myself feel every ounce of the pain and betrayal. And slowly, very slowly, I started to heal. The trial was set for 6 months later. In that time, Rebecca's life completely fell apart. She lost everything. The house was foreclosed on. Damien took everything that wasn't nailed down in the divorce, leaving her with just her legal debts. Her friends abandoned her. Her social media accounts were flooded with hateful messages. Someone created a Facebook page called Justice for Alinta that gained thousands of followers. There were even a few viral videos. Someone had filmed her meltdown at the community center and posted it online. It had been viewed over 2 million times, with comments ranging from disgust to satisfaction to dark humor. "Imagine being so greedy you try to murder your own mother on Christmas," one comment read. "This woman is pure evil," said another. "I hope she never gets out of prison," wrote someone else. Public opinion had completely turned against her. There were no defenders, no one willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. Her own actions, her own words, had condemned her. I didn't watch the videos. I didn't read the comments. I stayed away from all of it, focusing on my own healing, my own life. But I heard about it. Everyone wanted to tell me about Rebecca's public humiliation, thinking it would make me feel better. It didn't. It just made me sad. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I attended every single day, sitting in the front row, forcing myself to watch. Rebecca looked terrible. Prison had not been kind to her. She'd lost even more weight, her hair was stringy and dull, and she had a permanent look of fear in her eyes. The prosecution was ruthless. They presented every piece of evidence methodically: the poisoned hamburger, my medical tests, the forged insurance documents, the search history, the emails, the prior attempts. They called witness after witness. Maria Thompson testified, tears streaming down her face as she described watching her children suffer. I trusted Ms. McPherson. "She's been nothing but kind to my family. And this woman," she pointed at Rebecca, "she almost killed my babies for money." The doctors who treated Jake and Sophie testified about the severity of the poisoning. The forensic analyst who tested the hamburger explained exactly what poison had been used and how it would have killed me. Matthias Beth, who'd agreed to testify as an expert on my behalf, explained the pattern of abuse and escalating attempts on my life. And then it was my turn. I took the stand on a Wednesday morning. The courtroom was packed, standing room only, with media cameras everywhere. I placed my hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth, and sat down. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Amanda Rodriguez, approached me gently. "Ms. McPherson, can you please tell the court about your relationship with your daughter?" I took a deep breath and began to speak. I told them everything. Every sacrifice, every struggle, every moment of love I'd poured into raising Rebecca. I told them about working multiple jobs, going without so she could have more, putting her through college. I told them about the loneliness of the past few years, the holidays spent alone, the desperate hope I'd felt when the Christmas package arrived. I told them about eating that hamburger, about giving the rest to the Thompson children, about the phone call that changed everything. By the time I finished, I was crying. So was half the courtroom. "Ms. McPherson," Amanda said softly, "in your own words, what do you want the jury to understand about what your daughter did to you?" I looked directly at Rebecca for the first time. She was staring at the table, refusing to meet my eyes. "She didn't just try to kill my body," I said, my voice steady despite the tears. "She killed something much more important. She killed the love I had for her. She killed my ability to trust. She killed the mother I used to be, the woman who would have done anything for her child. That person died on Christmas Day when I realized the truth. And unlike me, that person isn't coming back." The courtroom was silent. The defense tried their best. They brought in a psychologist who testified about Rebecca's mental state, her financial stress, her desperation. They tried to paint her as a woman who'd made terrible choices but wasn't truly evil. It didn't work. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. When the verdict was read, Rebecca collapsed. She sobbed, she screamed, she begged for mercy. The judge had to order her removed from the courtroom. Sentencing was set for 2 weeks later. In those 2 weeks, something shifted in me. A weight I'd been carrying for years, maybe my entire life, finally lifted. I realized I'd spent my whole existence defining myself by my role as Rebecca's mother. Every decision, every sacrifice, every moment of my life had been about her. I'd lost myself completely in motherhood, and when she betrayed me, I'd lost the only identity I had. But I was more than that. I'd always been more than that. I'd been Alinta McPherson, the girl who'd survived a difficult childhood. The young woman who'd refused to let poverty define her. The student who'd worked her way through college. The accountant who'd built a successful career. The volunteer who helped others. The friend who showed up for people. The woman who painted angry, beautiful abstracts. The survivor who'd rebuilt herself from nothing. Rebecca was just one chapter in my story. A painful, tragic chapter, but not the whole book. I threw myself into living. Really living, not just surviving. I started traveling. Small trips at first, weekend getaways to nearby cities. Then I got bolder. I'd always wanted to see the Grand Canyon, so I went. Stood on the edge and felt the vastness of the world, the smallness of my problems in comparison. I deepened my volunteer work at the women's shelter. Started leading support groups for women who'd experienced family betrayal. My story resonated with so many others. We healed together. I reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with over the years. I made new friends through my book club, my painting class, and my volunteer work. Built a chosen family of people who loved me for me. The Thompson family and I grew even closer. Maria apologized profusely for doubting me, though I told her she had nothing to apologize for. Her children recovered fully, thank God, and I became an honorary grandmother to them. They called me Grandma Alinta, and I attended their school plays and baseball games with more joy than I'd felt in years. I even started dating. Nothing serious, just coffee and dinners with interesting men who made me laugh. It felt strange at first, I hadn't dated in over 30 years, but also exhilarating. I was rediscovering parts of myself I'd forgotten existed. My apartment became a real home. Filled with plants, artwork, photos of people who actually loved me. Warm and bright and mine. I looked in the mirror one day and barely recognized myself. Not just because I looked healthier, though I did. But because of the expression in my eyes. Strength. Peace. Self-worth. Rebecca had tried to destroy me, but instead, she'd freed me. Sentencing day arrived. The judge gave Rebecca 28 years in prison. With good behavior, she might get out when she was 74. I felt nothing when the sentence was read. No satisfaction, no sadness, just acceptance. 3 months later, I received a letter. It was from Rebecca, written from prison. For a long time, I stared at the envelope, debating whether to even open it. Part of me wanted to throw it away unread, to deny her even this small connection. But another part, the part that still remembered holding her as a baby, needed to know what she had to say. I opened it. The letter was 10 pages long, handwritten in her familiar script. She started with apologies, claiming she'd found God in prison, that she'd had time to reflect on her actions, that she understood now how wrong she'd been. Mom, I know you'll never forgive me, and I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything, the poison, the lies, the years of taking you for granted. I was a monster, consumed by greed and resentment. Prison has given me clarity. I see now what I lost. I see now what you sacrificed for me, what you gave me, how much you loved me. And I threw it all away for money I never got anyway. She wrote about her daily life in prison, the monotony, the fear, the loneliness. She wrote about therapy sessions where she was forced to confront what she'd done. She wrote about nightmares where she saw my dead body and woke up screaming. I think about those Thompson children every day. I almost killed them. Innocent kids who'd done nothing wrong. Just because I was too much of a coward to face my own failures. I have to live with that for the rest of my life. The letter went on, cycling between remorse and self-pity, between acceptance and excuses. She asked if I'd visit her, if we could talk, if there was any chance of reconciliation. You're still my mother. I know I don't deserve you, but you're the only family I have left. Damien divorced me, my friends abandoned me, I have nothing and no one. Please, Mom. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just asking you not to forget I exist. I read the letter 3 times. Each time, I felt a little bit of the old pain, the old maternal instinct to fix things, to make it better. But I also felt clarity. This letter wasn't about remorse. Not really. It was about Rebecca's loneliness, her need for connection, her inability to sit with the consequences of her actions. Even now, after everything, she was asking me to give her something. My time, my emotional energy, my presence. She was still talking. I sat down at my desk and wrote a reply. Short, simple, final. Rebecca. I received your letter. I don't doubt that you're suffering, and I don't take pleasure in your pain. But I cannot give you what you're asking for. I cannot be your mother anymore. That person died on Christmas Day along with the daughter I thought I had. You didn't just try to kill my body. You killed every good memory I had of you. Every time I think of your childhood now, all I can see is the woman who calculated how much poison it would take to end my life. Every sacrifice I made feels worthless because it led to this. I hope you do find genuine remorse and healing in your time in prison. I hope you use these years to become a better person, not for me, but for yourself. But I won't be part of that journey. This is goodbye, Rebecca. For real this time. Alinta. I mailed the letter and felt a door close inside me. Not with anger or bitterness, but with peaceful finality. She wrote back 3 more times. I returned all 3 letters unopened. 5 years have passed since the trial. I'm 74 now, and I've never been happier. Rebecca is still in prison. I don't follow her life or ask about her. As far as I'm concerned, she exists somewhere in the past, a cautionary tale about the dangers of taking love for granted. I heard through the grapevine that Damien remarried and moved out of state. Good for him, I suppose, though I still believe he knew more than he admitted. The Thompson children are teenagers now. Jake is a straight-A student planning to study medicine. He says his experience in the hospital inspired him. Sophie is an artist, her work full of vibrant life that makes my heart sing. Emma is a track star, running like the wind. I go to all their events, proud as any grandmother could be. Maria and I are closer than ever. She calls me her second mother, which always makes me cry happy tears. My volunteer work at the women's shelter has expanded. I now lead workshops on recognizing family abuse and setting boundaries. My story, painful as it is, helps other women recognize that family doesn't have a free pass to hurt us. I'm still painting. My work has gotten darker but also more hopeful, abstract pieces that show chaos transforming into beauty. I had my first gallery showing last year. It sold out. I'm dating someone special. His name is Richard, he's a retired teacher, and he makes me laugh every single day. We're taking it slow, but for the first time in my life, I'm in a relationship where I'm valued, respected, and loved without conditions. I think about Rebecca sometimes. Usually late at night, when the world is quiet and my defenses are down. I wonder if she's changed, if prison has truly reformed her, if she understands the magnitude of what she destroyed. But mostly, I don't think about her at all. I think about the life I'm building, the joy I'm creating, the love I'm receiving from people who actually deserve my heart. I think about how close I came to dying, and how grateful I am that I survived. I think about the woman I used to be, exhausted, depleted, living for someone who saw her as worthless, and the woman I am now, strong, independent, surrounded by genuine love. Rebecca tried to kill me. But in a twisted way, she gave me life. Real life. Not existence, not survival, but actual living. I'm not grateful for what she did. The pain of that betrayal will stay with me forever. But I'm grateful for what I discovered in the aftermath, that I'm worth more than I ever believed, that I deserve love and respect and joy, that family is what you make it, not who shares your blood. If you're watching this and you see yourself in my story, if you're the one giving everything and receiving nothing, if you're sacrificing yourself for people who don't appreciate you, if you're waiting for crumbs of affection from a family who treats you like a burden, please hear me. You deserve better. You deserve people who value you, who show up for you, who love you not for what you can give them but for who you are. You deserve to be more than a doormat, more than a bank account, more than a placeholder until something better comes along. And if the people in your life can't see your worth, if they take and never give back, if they resent you for being alive, you have the right to walk away. Blood doesn't entitle anyone to abuse you. Family doesn't mean you have to accept cruelty. Set boundaries. Protect yourself. Choose people who choose you. It took me 69 years and a murder attempt to learn that lesson. Don't wait as long as I did. Rebuild yourself. Rediscover yourself. Choose yourself. I did, and I've never been more free. My name is Alinta McPherson. I'm 74 years old. My daughter tried to kill me for my money. But I'm still here, and I'm thriving. And if you're going through something similar, you can thrive too. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for letting me share my story. Remember, you are worth more than your worst relationship. You are worth more than the cruelty of others. You are worth fighting for. Choose yourself. Always choose yourself. And to anyone out there who's plotting against their parents, their family, anyone who loves them, stop. Stop and think about what you're destroying. Think about the person who sacrificed for you, who loved you, who would have given you anything if you just asked honestly. Money isn't worth murder. Greed isn't worth spending your life in prison. Resentment isn't worth destroying the one person who would have stood by you through anything. But if you can't see that, if you're too far gone into your own selfishness and cruelty, then I hope the justice system finds you before you succeed. I hope someone catches you before you destroy a life that can't be rebuilt. I hope someone stops you before you become like my daughter, a cautionary tale, a monster, a waste of potential and love. I survived my daughter's hatred. I rebuilt myself from the ashes of her betrayal. You can survive too. Whatever you're going through, whoever is hurting you, there is life on the other side of that pain. I promise. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Share this story with anyone who needs to hear it. Share it with anyone who's struggling with family betrayal, with anyone who needs permission to choose themselves. My name is Alinta McPherson. And I am finally, truly, completely free.